Hi everybody, it's time to get started. My name's Janine Crooks and I'm the Client Services Manager from Affiliate Window. Thank you all for coming. I know that it is kind of just about the last session from Affiliate Summit, so we appreciate you spending this time with us today. And hopefully we'll give you a lot to think about, some stuff to learn, and make it worth your while. We're looking at this as a discussion as well, so if you've got different questions along the way and you want to jump in with them, please feel free to do so, because we want to make sure that you leave here with all your questions answered. So our program is the Metrics Diamond, the 4C's of affiliate revenue. And the reason why we use that concept is because there are 4 points that we want to make sure we cover today, which are click-through, conversions, cancellations, and commissions. So that's why we called it the Diamond. There's 4 parts. The panel today consists of 3 of us. So first off, right here is John Labruto, who currently is the Director of Affiliate Solutions and Partnerships at Liquid Web. John has held many, many roles within the industry, been in the industry for 16 years and has been in travel, has been in web hosting, has been in a variety of other programs as well. So he brings a wealth of information and knowledge from a merchant standpoint. On my far left is Mike Allen. Mike Allen right now is an affiliate solutions provider. He owns his own company called Businesswright Consulting. He's been doing OPM and other programs to help different merchants and affiliates through various things. If you were here earlier today and you saw the Pinnacle Awards, Mike is actually a Pinnacle Award recipient as well. So we're very proud to have him on our panel. I'm the last person. So as I said, I'm the Client Services Manager with Affiliate Window. I'll be there 6 years next month, but I've been in the industry since 1999. I've been an affiliate, I've been a merchant, I've been a vendor. This is my 2nd time with an affiliate network. So we've all got kind of a lot of experience that we're bringing up here. So we actually totaled it all up. We have 52 years of combined experience up here. So hopefully with all that we can help you through and answer any questions you might have. So I'm going to let John talk about what we're going to approach today.
Well, 2 o'clock appointment here is better than 10 o'clock. We did that once, and, you know, in Vegas, that's a rough crowd, you know, especially folks that went to the ball and had some fun. One of the things, how we're approaching this is from all the different perspectives. So this particular panel is of merchant advertiser represented by myself, a publisher represented by Mike, and then the network piece represented by Janine. And, you know, what we just talked about earlier is the tone of this really is like if we're on a phone call and we're optimizing a campaign, and the 3 of us, Mike and I, negotiating basically optimization points, and Janine giving us the input of the network and all of the specific points that can help us in the optimization task. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this introduction, this opening, try to give you an understanding of what this is about and what we're really trying to cover. And then I'm going to sit down and we're going to go through each one of these pieces as the 3 representatives of those different perspectives. And it'll be more of a panel sign situation, so we don't have someone standing at the podium and being all official. At that point, it is definitely our interest to have you ask questions. We'll certainly have a question and answer at the end. If you feel more comfortable waiting and asking questions at the end, just write it down and we'll give you plenty of time to do that. But you know, this basically is an ongoing situation, right? So you have a scenario where you have, as a publisher, real estate on your site, you want to maximize the revenue for. As an advertiser, you're looking for good publishers and you're trying to create campaigns that sell your product or your service. And these are, you know, you have your long tail and your short tail. These are really short tail scenarios and long tail conversations, you know, where you're really building strategic partnerships, you know, between a publisher and an advertiser and a network, you know, because everyone's making money on this perspective. And publishers, you know, your whole thing is to maximize the cost of your traffic and make money on it, right? So it's very important that you're partnering with the right people, the right campaigns, the right products, and every click counts, you know, and making sure that those conversions happen. And at the end of the day, you're making money on that deal. Advertisers, you're managing costs. You know, cost of the sale. You're basically looking at ways to have the highest possible conversion rate and maximize as many sales you can from the traffic that you're getting from the publishers. And, you know, both are trying to, like, work out an ROI. It's, you know, classic. I don't want to spend money here. I don't want to spend money there. I want to maximize my revenue here. And why is this important? Well, obviously, it's cost versus revenue. It's the maximization of any campaign or program. And overall, the more successful campaigns you have with the most partners that you can have, the better your overall program will be as an advertiser or as a publisher. And the real take home here, and some of you know this, some of you, this may be, some of it a surprise, is it's not about the commission rate. That's the beginning of every conversation. Oh, what's the commission? It's not. There's so many more metrics, and you got to understand how this works. And basically every single piece that affects the overall payment that you get at the end of the day, or how much you are paying at the end of the day. So if I get the right button here, I'm going to give you a really brief, boring example and an exercise. And this is something that I've covered with our leadership teams on multiple companies to try to get them to understand basically how affiliate marketing, e-commerce works, and really what the pressure points are. So let's use this particular example A, or exercise A. And what you have is what I would call somewhat industry standard metrics, an optimized campaign, something that's meant to be high volume, something that's meant to make money for both parties, and at the end of the day, most likely advertisers and publishers and networks will be happy with how the metrics work on this. So you have, we'll use a standard 25,000 impressions. Something simple. We're going to use the same number for all these examples just to keep apples to apples. We're also going to use the same kind of click-through rate. So you have a click-through rate, basically, where 4% of that 25,000 is actually clicking through on an ad. Now, we're going to talk about later what that means, what the responsibility is of the publisher, the advertiser, the network, and so on. But at this point, let's just go over the numbers. So now you have about 1,000 people sitting on an advertiser site or a merchant site. Now you have conversion rate. Let's say it's about a 3%. I'm in the web hosting business. 3% is really good. 6% is great, but 3% is good. When you start getting into different iterations of web hosting, you start playing with different numbers here, and it gets a little difficult. Now we're talking about cancellation rate. So now you have, of the 1,000, 30 people actually decided to buy something. So, this is not where it ends, right? So a lot of folks would be like, oh, we have this amount of commission coming to us from a publisher perspective, and from the advertiser's perspective, oh, this is how much we're going to pay off on. But that's not where it ends. You have cancellation rates. Cancellation rates in my business are maybe free trials, or a 60-day lockout period, or for the transaction to actually lock and pay. You have different reasons why a cancellation may occur. It could also be fraud. These are things that you need to be very mindful of. 10% cancellation rate, a little high, but it's about industry standard. I think all of us could deal with about 10% drop off in this kind of scenario. So in this example, 3 people, at the end of the day, you're not going to get paid for 3 sales out of that 30. So what does that leave you with? That leaves you with 27 sales that you're looking to be paid on. And in this particular example, you have $200 as your cost, your commission rate or your cost per action. So at the end of the day, the publisher is looking at $5,400 in revenue for that particular spot with that particular advertiser or merchant. Well, let's look at the guy sitting next to him, right? This is a low volume, unoptimized campaign. Could be just starting out, could be a scenario where this is a new product or service or affiliate program. But look at the difference. You still have the 2,500 impressions. You still have the 4% click-through rate, which is 1,000 people. But your conversion rate's at 1%. So now you're starting with 10 sales on the books. Right there, it's a red flag, right? Now let's just really make this example more extreme and say there's a 20% cancellation rate. These are things you're going to hear about later, not at the point of sale. This is what you hear about when you're ready to get paid as a publisher. So these are important metrics. And the cost per action and the commission rate, which we talked about it not being the commission, is the same as exercise A. But look what happens. You have 8 sales that are getting paid off at $200 pop. I'm getting $1,600. So the performance of this particular program in example A versus example B dramatically affects the publisher's revenue. So that's a red flag, something important to think about. Now, how do we fix this? Well, there's a lot of ways to fix this. We're going to talk about the right ways to fix this. What I'm going to give you is an example of not necessarily the wrong way, but a Band-Aid that's not going to help anybody. Same example, exercise A. We just covered this. It's exactly what we just talked about in the last example, so I'm not going to go over this. But now this is the Band-Aid, low volume, high commission kind of scenario where usually where these conversations go is, well, can you increase the commission rate? Well, this is what happens here in order to make this guy competitive in exercise C with exercise A guy. You have the same click-through rate, you have the same 1% conversion, you have the same 20% cancellation, And now you got to pay as an advertiser $675 per sale in order to compete with those 8 sales making the same money for the publisher as the 27 sales are making for the first example. That's still $5,400. So it's in the advertiser's interest or the merchant's interest to get optimized, to have control over numbers and metrics that they can have control over. It's in everyone's interest to make this the best high-performance campaign possible and to work with each other through networks to figure out how to get parity here. Because the performance here dramatically affects the advertiser's payout. And I don't know about you, but I know all of us have, a CFO that we have to explain why we're paying certain commission numbers, and certainly when they turn around and say, well, what's the next guy paying? And you tell him 200, we're paying 675, he's going to want to know why, you haven't quadrupled sales. And in essence, you're just keeping your head, above water. So we're going to go through each one of these. I'm going to sit down, and as a publisher, as an advertiser merchant, and as a network, we're going to discuss each one of these particular scenarios and try to work out what we would do in discussions to try to make this better at all the different points. The take home here is this presentation should give you kind of a roadmap on how to guide yourself through optimization and understand what the implications are. At the end of this presentation, we'll do a quick summary and a real, open question and answer. And hopefully, we still don't have the cloud of the affiliate ball here, and this is all really clear from this point. So I'm going to turn over to Mike.
Yeah, I wanted to dig into the diamond analogy just a little bit more. We have 4C's, and there's 4C's for diamonds. There's color, cut, clarity, and carat, which is the size. Some have actually said there's 5C's, cost. But anyway, there's some really great parallels here. Diamonds are crystallized carbon atoms, and they're obviously worth much more than carbon by itself is. But most of that value is emotional. And another thing that's fascinating about diamonds is thought they were formed deep within the earth under intense heat and pressure and then brought to the surface through volcanic activity. That sounds a little bit like affiliate marketing sometimes, doesn't it? But anyway, going back to the emotional side of diamonds, since they're valued for more than what they're made of, so the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Affiliate marketing is much like that in that it's supposed to be a win-win between both sides, the advertiser and the publisher, working together through the network. So if we look at it from that perspective, then it's teamwork, and the whole can be greater than the sum of its parts as well, and it's worth more than the mere components. So, and taking it one step further, the emotional side, that's where the analytics and the data come in. We can make better decisions if we don't just look at the emotional side of it. But the emotional side is very important in here, especially I think for publishers, because we often own the property and we have an attachment to it. We have a bond with our readers or stakeholders in that case. So just a few tips here. Back to this first slide. You've probably had a chance to read it by now. So I think in summary, 2 of the key words here would be traffic and testing. Now, traffic in the sense, and if you walk the trade show floor, it probably means different things to different vendors there. But from an affiliate marketing perspective, as I think we would look at it, we would see this traffic as customers, as people, potential buyers. And so those are the ones that we, as when you're a publisher, you have a chance to interact with and warm them up to send them off the click-through, send them off to the advertiser. And then it's the advertiser's job to take that warm lead and finish, close the deal. So that's where testing, the next key word on this slide comes in. Testing is very important. You might want to rotate your offers out on the page, rotate the placement, test the content on the page and how it works, how it's being perceived. And there's some great tools for that. And I wanted to mention a few. There's a website called Usability Hub, usabilityhub.com. And you may have debates within your organization with the designer. They want to make it pretty, but it might be slow to load or might not be work from a sales perspective. So you can settle that debate with data using Usability Hub. Doesn't cost much. You can test layouts, menus, logos, marketing messages. You can send them an image, and they can test it for you with real people. Then there's, if you use WordPress, 27% of websites use WordPress as their content management system. There's a plugin called Simple Page Tester. It's for split testing. There's a free and a premium version there, and premium doesn't cost much. So definitely worth checking out, simplepagetester.com. Heatmap.co uses an algorithm, and it's for, you've probably seen the heat maps where the eye looks on a page. They use an algorithm, so it costs less than actually hiring people and tracking their eye movement. So that would be one to look at. Another one, Look Tracker. They actually use real participants, and their costs are about $110, so you can get some real human interaction from potential people that would emulate your customers. And finally, Crazy Egg, probably one of the more commonly known ones here. They can help you find out why your visitors are leaving, maybe not interacting, not doing what you want, why you don't have good click-throughs. They could help you. They have a free 30-day trial, so it'd be worth checking these things out. But back to the one other quick thing before I'll get off my soapbox here is sources of traffic can have different rates too, so that's another thing to test. If you look at Google versus Bing, Mac versus PC, looking at those kind of things, mobile versus desktop, those can all have different conversion rates, and you could go after those markets in different ways through your articles or whatever. But test those, and then you can match them up often better with something that will get you better click rates.
So yeah, so from the advertiser or the merchant's perspective, I'm working with Mike. He's my publisher. He's going to basically get the traffic, like he said, warm leads to me, the advertiser. Now, in affiliate marketing, it's important. That's not the end of the story, obviously, right? So it's why isn't this traffic clicking through? That's what I have to dive into. I'm looking at, the impressions matching the traffic volume. So is he getting like a ton of impressions? And this is a discussion with Mike and I, or the publisher and I. And I'm only getting a couple of, crumbs from that perspective. Why is that happening? Is my ad above or below the fold? And then understanding how he sources traffic. Is it organic? Is it paid? Or there are different ways that he's setting up his site for different purposes. Maybe he has another advertiser in a different channel or a different vertical that's making him more money, and maybe I can't compete with that. So we have to come up with some sort of plan in order that I get my fair share, if you will. Basically the question of qualified traffic is how warm is that lead, right? So is someone coming to my site understanding exactly what my value proposition is it positioned properly? Are they coming in looking to buy? Are they coming in looking to shop? Did they come in by accident? Just because it wasn't clear enough and it looked like something that they may be interested in. And that's really important because you don't want to waste a click. Mike wants to have people that are on his site click to somewhere where they will buy. And is it going to be off-site? Is it going to be a new window? But ultimately, that customer is on my site now. So I own that particular end of it. I'm going to talk about conversions soon. But, what else am I doing as an advertiser and as a merchant to try to enhance that customer to click on my link? Am I giving a banner? Am I giving a text link? Am I giving an offer? Is my offer appealing? Is it something that someone takes a look at, understands, and is able to emotionally connect with from a perspective of purchase? Are coupons necessary or promo codes? Am I on a site like a discount site where I'm sitting there basically having a blank text link, and is that text link providing any value? If it's a coupon site, it probably isn't if there's not an offer associated with it. Do my links or do the links on my publisher's site work? That's constant optimization. I may have changed my landing page. I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting there and, a page changed on our site. Developers didn't inform us, and now I'm kind of investigating. You do your weekly links check, and all of a sudden everything's coming back broken or 404. Like, when did this happen? Or you're seeing a drop in your site on the metrics as far as conversion rate and activity, and you're trying to diagnose what happened. So, these are things that are very important for you to go into detail with and really understand and take responsibility for as an advertiser, because it's not just about, well, I need a better publisher because I'm not getting enough click-throughs. There's a lot of responsibility on the advertiser side to make that click-through count. Is my ad getting attention, right? Is that happening, and what can I do to make that particular thing happen? Facing on down.
All right, now I get to talk about it from the network perspective. So basically, tracking and reporting, that's our job. That's what we do. And so it's important, though, for everybody to kind of understand how we play that role between the publisher and the merchant. So there's a couple things here that I wanted to talk about. John mentioned tracking impressions and to try and see what share of that becomes a conversion. Tracking impressions can be one of the hardest things for a network to do because there's so many different variables that are in there to try and determine what is an impression. So sometimes you're going to see that get captured. It depends on how the merchant's pixel is set up. It depends on how we're hearing back from the publisher when that page is shown. So don't freak out if sometimes you're not seeing what the impressions are. There's a lot of factors that are in there. Usually if you want to try and find out more, you can work with the network and try and see what you need to change or what they may need to change for you to be able to see it. You can change it much more easily than trying to get the merchant to change something. Tracking and reporting value. Each network has their own way of tracking and reporting, but uniformly we've got a system to share the amount of the pending transactions. So you want to make sure that that system is working and see what's working and what isn't. Is somebody being attracted to the banner ad versus the text link? Is it that you've got both on one page and so that has a better conversion rate than other things? Take advantage of whatever kind of reporting metrics you can get from your network to try and help you understand better what's making people respond, what they're responding to on your site. One of the things that I want to make sure that everybody's clear about is first versus last click. The vast majority of our industry really does focus on the last click as being the one who's rewarded the sale. But there are a handful of merchants that are out there that will also use first click. Usually it's because they've got an aggressive pay-per-click campaign going on. Perhaps they're very active in SEO or something along those lines. So you can check that out. You should be able to tell that from the description of the merchant from the network. But just because somebody's first click, don't let that freak you out. I've actually had times where I had one merchant who switched from last click to first click, and the way it rolled out time-wise within our network, I wasn't aware of it, so apologize for that one. But honestly, nothing changed in the metrics. The same top performers remained the top performers, and it was because they really were the source of good traffic. So just because a program is first click doesn't mean you should decide that's not the one you want to work with. Quite often you're going to have people, actually 70% of the people will complete their sale within the first day. So if you're the first click, you're probably going to own that sale. But if you do have the chance to be able to use some sort of a sub-ID or a click ref or something like that for your links that you create from the network, do take advantage of that. Because then you can identify whether it's a specific banner edge on a specific page, if it's a specific text link that shows up someplace, maybe it's a picture or something like that, that you can say, for some reason, there's something about this that makes everybody click through and hopefully buy. So as much kind of tracking that you can do that way, an analysis, it's really going to help you on that. And as a matter of fact, some networks even have product level tracking. So not only are you going to know that they clicked on the banner ad that was in the upper left-hand corner right underneath the headline, but when they did that, they bought 2 widget A's and 1 widget B as a result. And if you can get that kind of information, just think of how you can optimize with that and just play around with it. So anything that you can get, take. The final thing that I wanted to talk about in this category is Google Analytics. So many people count on Google Analytics as the be-all, end-all information about the traffic and activities that are going on in their site. Google Analytics was not designed to track affiliate marketing, so your numbers will never match up. They may have a different criteria as far as what constitutes a sale or what constitutes, a click-through or something like that. They do. It's the Google definition of it. That's not the network definition of it. So the network's numbers will always rule. Don't forget that. You can ask them about it if it doesn't agree by a lot with your Google Analytics, but the network numbers are what's going to matter. So now let's go ahead and talk about conversions. So,
Yeah,
Mike?
Interesting. I'll second what Janine said about Google Analytics, and you'll need to develop some of your own numbers as well to understand all the process and what works for your site, because just like Diamonds, every site is different, every publisher, every advertiser is different, so you've got to look at it uniquely. But conversions are where the money is, and so it's something we've always got to think about, both the publisher side. And let me give a little bit of history here. I say we as publisher because since 1999 I've been in affiliate marketing, and the bulk of those years was as a publisher. Only in the last 3 did I move into affiliate program management. So I'm still feel like I'm wearing the publisher hat. But so back to we as the publisher, once we have sent a customer to the advertiser, it's out of our hands. So we don't have a whole lot of say in what happens after that. We can, like the first 2 bullet points here, did we describe the product or service accurately? And did we represent the value proposition well to our customers or readers? After that, there's not a whole lot we can do about it. But there is one more thing, and that would be the relationship with the affiliate manager. And I think that's key. And that's where affiliate marketing has so many advantages. The communication, the working together with each other. Really, affiliates are part of the sales team. I see it as that way. Sales team of the advertiser, and really should be treated as such. They can make or break the brand for the advertiser as well. So, and here's another thing that it's really been fascinating that's developed over the last 10 or so years. Many publishers are now much larger than the advertisers that they're promoting. So you've got a very interesting situation there. So the dynamics have shifted a lot. So just think of Ebates or Slick Deals. Huge. There's not a lot of retailers that are bigger than them, actually. Testing, again, is key here to see if maybe you need to change your advertiser mix on the page. And again, here's a tip. If you use WordPress, you might want to, instead of directly embedding your URLs, your affiliate URLs in your page, you might want to use Pretty Links. That's a WordPress plugin where you could reference that same link through Pretty Links, but change the underlying link, the affiliate link. So you could swap it out to a completely different program if need be, or a different network easily. You might find that some networks convert better than others. So test those things. Another tool to use, and this is not a WordPress dependent, it works on everything that I'm aware of, is skim links or VigLink. And that would be another way to test first to see if you can recommend the product or the company without a lot of investment in building out your links, because you can put just a straight URL to that advertiser, and skim links or VigLink will automatically convert it to an affiliate link. And then if the relationship is good, the conversion rate is good, then you can go direct and swap out those links to your own relationship with the whatever premium arrangement you have.
So back up to the advertiser side of things, and Mike really makes some good points. And the take home on all this is it's about testing and communication. Communication is really important, especially with strategic partners, right? You have your short tail, you're throwing links out, you're trying to do your best to convert as high as possible, but that's a little bit more hands off. But you do have your strategic partners that 20% is giving you 80% of the business that you really want to communicate with very frequently and start working things out. But one of the things we talked about earlier is managing expectations also, because you have a scenario where one party is thinking thousands and the other one's thinking millions, right? So you're never gonna come together at that point if those expectations are so far off, even however you've optimized the program. But on the conversion side, this is the advertiser wheelhouse piece. This is where I stay up at night. And it's also kind of an ADD person's dream, because everything's different. It always changes, and you create baselines. And even when you have a baseline that's successful and you get to where you want to go, someone's screaming at you in the background saying you got to do better. So it's constant optimization. the questions, these are sort of questions that are on here. Questions, is my offer compelling? That's for the process. And it could be compelling for one publisher, it might not be compelling for another, based on product positioning. Is my price competitive? It's an overall observation, right? So, I have in web hosting multiple products. Some's a VPS, some's managed web, WordPress, dedicated servers, and all of those different product lines or services have to be competitive with my competitors, and I have different competitors for different product levels. So there's a lot of discussion, or a lot of thought process involved. Is my landing page optimized? And this is like the greatest nightmare that you can ever have from an advertiser or from an affiliate manager's perspective, because on one hand, again, every publisher is different, but you have the opportunity to really create something that's unique and separate from the actual website, because the website itself, if you're working as someone representing a larger company or even a mid-sized company, they're kind of optimizing that for web inbound, for organic traffic. In some cases, they may be optimizing it for paid search. But those optimization skills that they create, or the knowledge base that they build, is very transferable to affiliate marketing. It is sort of, it isn't. There's going to be certain variations, but this is where there is synergies between paid search and affiliate marketing. You're developing these specific landing pages for unassisted sales wherever possible, and it could be very different from the strategy of your website. At Liquid Web, we have a scenario where we really, really spend a lot of time trying to get the customer to get to the best product. It's not an advertisement for Liquid Web, but that's just our strategy. But at the same time, you run into the issue where affiliate marketing is really supposed to be as unassisted as possible, and you kind of have breakage, because if someone calls in or hits a chat button or something, now you have kind of an assist from a salesperson, and you have kind of an attribution issue. So there's strategic things that you have to think about from a company perspective, but ultimately you want an unassisted page. You want to get as many people funneled through to your site, and you want to be able to have them convert and be very satisfied with the product. And the funny thing here is, and one thing, just a little side note, is this is where the conversation usually ends. And the whole purpose of this particular presentation is to, we're not even halfway through it, right? So there's so much more to the conversation than conversion rate commissions, so that's kind of where we're going. Other questions I have, is that particular link deep linking into my site? Is that customer looking for a specific product, and am I sending them to my whole page, or am I sending them to the product page? Am I sending them directly to the cart? And which makes a difference? It's about really the results from the data, and that goes back to testing. It also goes back to testing landing pages, as I said, but in so many ways. We're working on custom landing pages for one particular partner. I have one with a header, without a header, one with a button above the fold, one with a button below the fold, one with a button above and below the fold. So there's all these different variations. But be strategic in the way you do it, write it down, figure it out, and then have notes and create a baseline, and then create a scenario where you're really not only learning but building from that knowledge. And then go ahead and transfer that to another partner, but it may not work. You may have to go back to the baseline to start again. So this is where you, as an affiliate manager for a merchant and advertiser, this is where you make your money. This is where you add value to the program. This is where you become someone that can make a difference, in the program. And, the other thing is, it's not just about them going to the cart. It's about them getting out of the cart. So you do have to look at your entire website and look at how many clicks is it for them to get out. I worked for a company once, and I won't name them. It was a European company, and they had a different strategy. The strategy in Europe is, you really want to make sure this person wants this product. So it was like through the cart process, it's like, do you really want to buy this? Do you really, really, really want to buy this? Pop-ups. Hey, you're going to buy this now. You sure you want to do this? And obviously that didn't work in the United States. U.S. e-commerce is get them in and get them out, and deal with it later. So it was incompatible, and that was definitely a barrier that I had in the U.S. market working with a European company. But again, every company has their different flavors and their different reasons for doing things and their different corporate strategies. And as the affiliate manager, or the affiliate director, or whatever your title may be, representing the advertiser merchant, you got to make it work for e-commerce and for your particular, channel and vertical. Another piece of this, what else is being commissioned? What is a conversion, right? Is it just a product? Do you have add-ons? Can that product change in value based on what the unique configuration is, or the unique service of that was purchased? So you have to be able to really describe that, because again, it's expectations. You could have something that's $1 that's an add-on that is considered a conversion, but it misses the point of what the publisher may have thought they were selling. And now they've actually got a conversion. They think they're getting X amount of money, and it's really just an add-on piece or something that's much, much lower value. And those expectations aren't being met again with the communication piece. So testing, and really understanding what you can do to optimize and make the best case with that warm lead and close it, get them out, and get them moving. And then our lovely network.
Then for the network, tracking conversions is our number one priority, and that's what every network's number one job is to do. So regardless of the network, that's what they're supposed to do. But one of the things is it's a little more complicated than just, oh good, somebody bought something. Especially if it's not an outright sale kind of item. If it's something like, a lead or something like that. I've had some merchants where I showed that they'd sold 20 in 1 month and they showed that they'd sold 180. But the difference was what we decided constituted a legitimate ad or a legitimate sale versus not. And actually it was kind of fun because at the end of the month they said we were right with our 20 versus their 180. Wasn't quite that wide of a gap, but nevertheless, that's what our job is to be as accurate as possible on everything that's involved in there. So literally what constitutes a conversion can really, really vary by merchant. And it may also vary a lot by network. So, kind of keep some of that in mind as you're trying to take a look at it. A lot of networks give you the ability to manually update if there's any kind of an issue with one of your transactions. One of the things, though, sometimes when affiliates will come to me and say, you didn't track this sale, I did it myself. And it's like, yes, and you looked at it directly on the merchant before you came through your link to do it. You were already cookied. So, that's fine. You did all your shopping before you ever came. That's why it didn't track. So there's a lot of things like that that can be factors in there. So, kind of make sure that those things are done before you're going to start questioning whether or not the tracking is right. One of the things that I think is really important is all the different attribution and reporting processes that are available. Some of the networks now have something built in, for example, Share a Sale does, where they can do attribution based on where you were in the chain, what percentage of value was assigned to you on that. For us at Affiliate Window, we use something, we call it reporting by assist, so we know that you were part of the process, even if you were not the last click. It really just kicks in when it's a last click type merchant. But we know that you were playing a role in that, and so we encourage our merchants to try and reward you based on that kind of activity. One of the other things that I really wanted to talk about here was pixels and cross-device tracking. Make sure your pixels are properly implemented. You'd be amazed at how many times I'm going to find somebody who decided that they wanted to shorten it and managed to break the tracking when they did it. So please be very, very careful about that. I don't know how many of you are familiar with cross-device tracking. I spoke on it yesterday because I'm passionate about it. And basically what cross-device tracking means that the consumer began their purchase journey on one type of device but completed it on another. So for example, they started their first search on a mobile phone, but when they finally made the buy, they did it on their desktop. And that happens a lot. For our network, we've been particularly aggressive in terms of finding a way to track people across multiple devices. We're not tracking people, we're tracking users. Their information is hashed, so we could never identify them through any kind of personally identifiable information. But we found that when we implement cross-device tracking, the average merchant results increase by 6% from affiliate marketing as the resource. We've seen it as low as 4%, we've seen it as high as 22% of additional transactions that were followed because of cross-device tracking. So if you've got a choice of where to choose to take a program through, if you've got the choice to do it through a network that offers cross-device tracking, I would encourage you to do that. Otherwise, you're leaving money on the table because it's just not being tracked and awarded to you. There's other tracking methodologies as well. So in some cases, we'll track only by the promo code, we'll track by a custom URL, so there's all those kinds of things. A lot of times that's kind of after you've proven that you can do a lot before we'll start tracking you that way, but that's at the merchant's discretion. Another challenge that we've got right now is ad blocking. And so most of the networks are working on a way to not have that block what the results are that are being reported back to us. And that's really critical because otherwise you're not getting credit for something because somebody had downloaded a piece of technology. And blocking the affiliate link and the affiliate tracking isn't what was the purpose of ad blocking in the first place. So anyway, we're working on that, but just know that is something that can affect you as well, especially through the conversion process. So now it's time to move on to the ever popular cancellations.
Cancellations are probably the most frustrating part of affiliate marketing from everyone's perspective, really, because it's the order didn't go through for some reason, and we all want the orders because it's supposed to be win-win. It's frustrating for everyone, like I said, and it's the least controllable for the publishers because it didn't happen with anything on our side of the equation. So what do we do about it? I think transparency is very important here. If there's a lot of cancellations, then the affiliate manager needs to particularly look into the situation to try to find out why. The publisher can also reach out to the advertiser to find out what's going on here. Could be there's a lot of fraud. Could be that there's a configuration error. There's a lot of reasons. So transparency is why I say just let's find out what it is, dig to the bottom of it, and see what's going on here. Lock periods are mentioned on the slide. That's the time in which actually after the lock period, then the order cannot be reversed or canceled. So that will vary by network, and then sometimes it can be extended, particularly around the holidays. You'll see a longer lock period because of gifting and delays in the returns. So that's something to look into and understand. These are good questions to ask. Another thing that publishers might want to find out is how are the returns calculated? For instance, is the whole order voided or just readjusted? So they could still be commissioned if there were multiple items in the order. So they could be commissioned on the ones that were not returned. So just check into those things. I would recommend, and just be have openness on both sides.
So, like, we've gone over a lot of stuff, right? And everything we've just done for the sales funnel is now negated by cancellation, right? So the publisher's upset, the network's not getting paid, so they're upset. And from your perspective, your numbers are failing because you now have one less sale or whatever the impact is. So you really got to, as a affiliate manager for an advertiser merchant, try to figure out, why is this happening? Is it something that's controllable? And the only one that could be controllable is us. But you got to look at it and say, well, was my offer too good to be true? Did I give a free trial period? Excuse me. And is that working? Or are people just canceling out before I'm paying commission? That really doesn't help anybody. Is the traffic generating a large volume of fraud too? Fraud is a cancellation also. So maybe they came in, their credit card bounced, and now it's an issue of nobody's going to be able to do anything because the guy's not paying for that particular sale. Or was it that they canceled after 30 days because, again, a fraud piece because they had a coupon for a free month or something like that. So you really got to dive into it and try to understand exactly why is this happening, and are the numbers acceptable? Are the metrics acceptable? Is it industry standard? Is it under 10%, 8%, 5%? You can live with something like that, but in some cases, if you're doing a special campaign and you're starting to notice cancellation rates at 20, 15, 20%, you got a problem, and you really got to look through why. Is that traffic quality a good fit, or are you just getting shoppers that are going to buy and then just cancel out? Or is it one particular publisher that cancellation rate's higher than whatever your standard is on your program? This goes into optimization and communication and having discussions, with the publisher and trying to figure out, does this campaign still make sense? Can the product positioning be improved? So, you're giving product positioning to the publisher's trying to position your product in the right way, or the offer, and maybe you're not explaining exactly what your value proposition is or what the expectations are of that particular product. So maybe something, that you purchase, really, you don't see the benefit of it until, 90 days or 60 days, and that person's canceling, or a large majority of people are canceling before they really get to that satisfaction level in that particular product or service that you have. So that's another piece of it. Is my support and response time, is that working? Do I have a problem in my business, or maybe with my customers from my channel, because they're being handled differently from our normal service process? Are we doing the right thing? Are we managing the customer? Are we being responsive? And we are meeting expectation of the overall customer? This is something that goes beyond the channel. But certainly if it only affects your channel, you got some breakage here. You got to figure out exactly why that's happening, and that is you, meaning me as the advertiser, manager. And is there an issue with the product quality? Is something breaking? Is there returns? I'm not in retail for my piece. I have been in retail in the past, but right now I'm not. I'm more of a product service. But, am I getting a lot of returns? So, and is that happening for a reason? Are my products shipping out? Are they breaking? Are they getting lost? All these different variables. But, you think as, well, I'm in the affiliate channel. I don't handle customer service. Well, you do, because it impacts your cancellation rate, and that impacts the metrics on your program. So the bottom line is, are these controllable? And how can I control them? How can my department and my vertical and my channel control them within the confines of what the campaign and the company is doing?
Networks care a great deal about cancellation rates as well, because that's how we make our money. So we need the sales to go through for us to get the override on it. So I, as a network, always take a look at that on my merchants. And that cancellation rate is one of those things that usually should be part of whatever reporting the network is giving you as the publisher about each individual merchant. So one of the things, for example, that I need to care about is that my merchant has a reasonable cancellation rate, or else you may not choose to work with my merchant. You may choose to go to a different network or go to a different merchant, and perhaps in an in-house program. I'd much rather work with you on the network, so by helping to make sure that it works out well for both the publisher and the merchant, I've got reasonable cancellation rates and an opportunity to work with you. Take a look at it. Most of the networks now, or many networks, I'm not going to say most, make sure that their merchant tells you why that particular cancellation came through. Was it because the customer returned the order? Was it that they had a bad credit card? Was it something else that was it? Did they do a partial return and you're still going to get credit for it? Where they returned the shoes but kept the dress? You guys should still get the commission on the dress then. So make sure that as you're taking a look at what network you're choosing to work with for a given program or merchant, that those are all the kinds of things that they can do. Is there a way for the network to manually update the commission and make sure that you get partial payment on it? Mike touched briefly on lock periods. And, usually what that is, as he mentioned, is it's the amount of time before something gets returned. It really varies by merchant. Usually you can find out on the merchant's website or frequently on the network profile page for a merchant how long that might be. It's usually 30 to 45 days. Most of them don't go too much beyond that. But the caveat that I wanted to make sure I mentioned is on things like hotel reservations. Usually the commission isn't awarded until that stay has been completed. And it is wicked scary to see how far in advance some people book hotel rooms. I have had hotel rooms booked over 15 months in advance. And then I've got some publishers that are contacting me going, seriously, I haven't gotten paid on this yet? That's the reason why. So that's kind of one of the things to keep an eye on cancellations. But I will track cancellations too. If I see a particular affiliate that's getting a lot of cancellations and is out of sync with the rest of the people in the program, I'm going to check out that affiliate. If I see a merchant who's got a really high cancellation rate, I'm going to talk to the merchant about it, because that's not right. I don't want my publishers to be spending a lot of time promoting a merchant that's not converting well, that's not staying, where the sales don't stick. So that's my role as the network, is to make sure that we're supporting both sides of the equation, not just one, not just the other, but both sides of the equation, so that everybody is successful when it comes to that part of the business. But now it's time for our favorite part, commissions.
This is why it all happens from a publisher perspective. This is what makes it affiliate marketing work. So, excuse me. The question at the bottom is, are my revenue expectations being met? That's the key. And everything above it can help you. Asking the questions above it can help answer the essential overarching question there. So I like to look at this from more than just commission, though. Commission is key, but there are other factors to look at, and that may be, we've talked about the others, but the EPC, the earnings per click, that would be one way to compare across multiple advertisers. How much am I making for every click I send this advertiser versus this advertiser? And then you can determine placement and who you're going to work with based on that factor there, that EPC. So a key thing to track and test. And by testing, small players don't have a lot of money or time probably to test a lot of things. So test one thing and work on that, get that improved. That probably will lift some of your other factors as well. And then once you've mastered that one, go ahead and test something else. Just add to your testing. Over time, you can build it up. Again, affiliate marketing and commission, it's win-win. If you can go to the advertiser, if you're doing well with them, try to offer something. Say, hey, if I can give you better placement, can you give me a little better commission? I think it's much better to give something to get something rather than just say, hey, give me. That wins friends and influences people to share like that and helps build that partnership.
So, I'm looking at the time and I'm getting flashed in the back. I love doing presentations with these folks. We've been doing this for years together. I think you can see some synergies here. And we bring so much to the table, I think, well, they do at least. I try to keep up sometimes. But, what we may be, getting to a point where Q&A may be a little curtailed. We're going to finish up in a little bit, but we're going to stay here after. So if you have questions and Q&A got, shrunk, just come on up and we'll talk to you individually, But, from the advertiser's perspective, commission, getting back to the presentation, from the advertiser's perspective, commission, there's so many things you can do with this, right? We talked about changing the commission to meet the metrics, which isn't really a great idea, but, it may be something that you have to do until you optimize to the point of being competitive with what the expectations are, what the competitors are doing. There's also trade-offs. I had a scenario recently where, hadn't been done optimizing a page, and we had a scenario where the publisher came back and said, hey, look, you're about 30% below where the other person was that I had before you. So we made a deal. I put an off-site, site link from our About page back to them, so that increased their traffic, kind of offset, and at least gave us some time to buy, to continue to optimize, to try to get the numbers and the metrics higher so that the revenue was there. But, basically, the question is, can I maximize performance but minimize the commission amount? So, going back to the original example, it's not really about the dollar value, it's about how much the publisher's making. It's also about how much I'm spending, I'm optimizing to try to get the most out of these metrics, and then the bottom line is the commission, and that commission rate has to be competitive, but really based on the payout, not on that particular number. But there's different ways to slice it, so you could have a commission term that is per product, which is very efficient. You could have a commission term that's a flat rate for everything that you do, but then you got to take into account what's the lowest priced product, what's the highest priced product, or people kind of get screwed out of a higher commission rate if you have a flat rate because it's too flat. Do you have tiers based on product levels? Do you have a loyalty term that's one rate because a lot of loyalty folks really want one rate or a percentage or something to that nature? Am I looking at commissions as a market spend also, or is there a market spend component? So in other words, am I kind of saying to the publisher, listen, I need a premium position, and even though you normally charge X amount for that up and above commissions, what if I increase commissions instead of putting out that particular cash? And saying, look, I'll give you more of a rev share, which really works if your program's optimized. So if you have good conversion rates and you have a good relationship, they'll be happy to grab it because in the end they're going to make more money than just asking for $1,000 for a specific spot. They may make $10,000 based on the additional products that are sold in that spot. So you have leverage, and it comes down to those metrics support that leverage. Am I constrained by a budget? Oh, I love this. You have the finance team that says, well, even though you have a rev share program, we're going to budget how much commissions you're going to pay. And then you get to November and right before Christmas, and they come back and say, well, you got to stop selling things because we don't have a budget for commissions. That's the biggest oxymoron I've ever heard in my life, with the emphasis on moron. I've literally gone gray on conversations like that because when you're dealing with that's where it comes to marketing versus sales, in this whole question of, affiliate marketing. If you're on the sales side, it's considered a commission. If you're on the marketing side, it's considered spend and it's budgeted. But, how do you not sell because you ran out of money to pay a commission on revenue that you're getting incremental by new and more sales? So it's like a little rope-a-dope. And you got to manage that. You're not only managing expectations with your publishers and with your network, but you're also managing expectations internally with your management team and your leadership team to understand what you're trying to accomplish. Because it's the same people that's going to come back and say, how come I had a sales drop off in November, December? Well, your CFO told me not to sell anything because I couldn't pay commissions anymore. So, and then there's also percentage versus flat rate. There's so many different variables, and we're getting a little short on time. I can give you probably an hour presentation on how we can change the commission and see what works better and what doesn't work better. But really, it comes down to is it being attributed properly, and are we working properly with the publisher, and are those expectations being met?
Okay. So now I get to talk to you about the network part of it. As a network, our number one job, make sure that you get paid your commissions. We got to collect it from the merchant, that's our responsibility, but making sure that the affiliates get paid. So things that we want to make sure that you've got a chance on is, is there a way for you to be able to get back to the network if there's an issue that you're not getting paid right? Does the network let you know if for some reason the merchant right now isn't funded? So whether they put money on account or whether they're not paying their invoices, if there's anything that could compromise in any way you're getting paid for any of your commissions, make sure that the network tells you that, has a methodology to do that, and that you understand how that methodology works. One of the things that's our responsibility too as a network is to make sure that we've got in place a fast way to kick out a publisher who's being bad. If somebody's generating fraud, I want them out of the program that day. At Affiliate Window, we can have you out of that program literally in 15 seconds if we need to. So, that protects the good publishers and it protects the merchant. So we're going to be able to do stuff like that. That ensures that no money is going to the bad guys and the commissions are going to the affiliates that really do deserve it. Make sure that whatever network you're working with will report all the metrics to you, and also that you're comfortable with whatever their payment method is. Some of the CPA networks may be trying to pay out on a weekly basis or something like that. We tend to pay out twice a month. Other places will pay out once a month. So be comfortable as well with whatever that time frame is, whatever their method is, whether it's ACH, whether it's a check that you actually receive. Some places do PayPal, others don't. See what it is that you're comfortable with and use those networks there. So your bottom line question is, does the network meet my needs?
So, in particular summary, we're just going to go through this very quickly. Basically, you have a lot of take-homes here. I was going to go one by one, but we're running out of time. So, you click through, you basically have advertiser branding, publisher traffic volumes. That's somewhat of the responsibility of the publisher, but at the same time, is the advertiser on board in doing their part. On the conversion rate, it's the appeal of the offer, landing page optimizations. Cancellation is the stickiness of the sale and support of the product, so a lot of that has to do with what the advertiser merchant's doing. And of course the CPA has to negotiate the bottom line on both sides.
So finally, the part that we just really wanted to emphasize with all of you is about maximizing revenue opportunities. We think that it's most important that consistent testing and optimization of the diamond metrics will yield the best possible results for your campaigns. Publishers, advertisers, and networks must work closely together to find out what works and what doesn't. And I hope we've helped to demonstrate today that we all work together to try and make sure to accomplish that. And we literally have in accounts and programs that we've worked on. Each campaign is unique. And sometimes you need to walk away and try somebody different, a different partner, or partners, perhaps. But once you've got a working model that actually is working properly for you and it's developed, it can be duplicated usually once you've found that kind of measure for success that goes perfectly for you. So just like cutting a diamond, the results take time to shape, form, and polish. And until then, once you've done that, then the perfect gem is created. Thank you so very much for coming and joining us today. We're going to have a little bit of time for Q&A. As John said, we're going to stay here till we answer every question we possibly can. And thank you so very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's great.
I think so. If anybody has any questions,
Yeah, the
please
mic is still open. Come on up.
glad to do that. So,
And it's the end of the day, and they'll probably let us go a little long.
yeah, they're not going to kick us out of the room in a heartbeat. So, does anybody have any questions, or would you rather just come up? Looks like yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
If I have some publisher and if I have affiliate partners that they have multiple landing pages that are objectively bad, but they just sort of say, you know, this is not a priority for us right now, we're just focused on traffic. How would I start a conversation with them to maybe push them towards optimizing their landing pages?
Are you the publisher or the advertiser?
Publisher.
Yeah, well, you may have to get someone, I mean, if it's someone that you have to work with, then you're going to have to keep pushing. You know, one of the things that, I'm sorry, I just jumped on this, but one of the things is, you know, nothing happens fast in affiliate marketing. You know, and unfortunately, the seeds that you sow today, you may actually bear fruit in 6 months, or at the next affiliate summit, you know, in 8 months. You know, yeah, you keep pushing and keep pressing, threaten to pull. You know, if you're not making money and you're not converting and you're wasting traffic, you know, it's time to look for other sources of income. You know, if it's the only source of income, then you just have to try to leverage it as best you can. But yeah, it's frustrating. And so maybe they don't even realize it either. But maybe they'll realize it if you do pull. Or throttle.
Yeah, exactly. Does anyone else have any questions? Our contact information is up there, by the way, so, you know, we're more than happy to have anybody email us. We've got our cards here. Love to trade cards with you after this if you would like. So, okay. Looks like we're done in that part, but please come up and talk to us if we can help you in any way.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.